program is financially supported by the fundings from the European Commission.
You are listening to the EBU Access Cast, the official podcast from the European Blind Union about assistive technology for blind and partially sighted people. And here is our host.
Hey there everyone, and welcome to the EBU Access Cast, episode 33. My name is Hlynur Þór, calling you from Iceland, and I'm not here by myself, even though I am here by myself, but with me are three wonderful people. So with me here is Mario Percinic from Croatia. Hello, Mario.
Hello, sir. How is it going?
We're going good, I think. How about you, Pavel Masarczyk from Poland?
Doing alright over here in Austria as well.
Yes. And last but certainly not least, Tanya Clout from Croatia.
Hello, and based in Luxembourg.
Based in Luxembourg. So how are you guys doing?
Yeah, I finally
Fine.
had my summer break. So yes.
So did I. It was nice. It was nice to get out somewhere different for a change.
But how are we? Yeah, somewhere over the rainbow.
No, I've been to Italy and it was quite nice. It was just a couple of days, but I really liked it. My parents were here and we enjoyed it.
Awesome. Some of us here in Iceland have had a wonderful summer. You know, Iceland is kind of a small island, though.
Oh yeah.
But in the northern and the eastern
Did you have more
part,
than 8 degrees?
Yeah, we had like 12 here in Reykjavik at average or something like that. But it was unfair this time around because the northern and the eastern part of Iceland had if you look at like June, July and August, they had like 70 days out of those 90 days with over 20 degrees. I think we had around 4 here in Reykjavik.
Holy.
So, kind of unfair, if you ask me. That's why I'm never asked, of course. But yeah. So how are we pandemically doing?
I'm fine.
Well, we were not sick, so yeah. This is the most
None
important.
Yeah.
Nothing on my side either, fortunately.
Oh, great to
and,
know.
Croatian coast was quite packed, I have to say.
With tourists.
Yeah, with tourists. Because...
Not with the virus.
Well, we didn't see the virus.
But see, autumn.
Yeah, but speaking of the coast being packed with people, yeah, we could see that the vaccine is working. So that's
yeah.
good.
So it seems. So good to know that everyone is feeling well.
Yeah,
so
even though we had some, at least I had some weird situation with my COVID pass, but yeah, we will talk about that.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that one. So just going over what we will be discussing. Of course, we have the news and we have the gadgets, as always. Pavel, you are our guy with the gadgets, of course.
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. Coming back again. Yeah, we have also taken a look at a new thing called Tweesecake. Kind of like cheesecake. Kind of. Kind of like it, but...
Like a tweeting cheesecake.
But if you would consider a cheesecake a lightweight, multi-purpose, robust software suite, which allows users to easily use keyboard commands to control Twitter and Telegram, navigate your file system, and much more, then yes, it would be a cheesecake. We were also wondering if there's an easy way to create a digital copy of your COVID certificate and safely place it in your phone wallet. Well, we took a look at a new option called getcovidpass.eu, which claims to do exactly that. But does it work and how does it work? Well, you're going to have to listen to find out. There was also an Apple hosting a conference on September 14th with the catchy title California Streaming. But what did they reveal? A new iPhone, AirPods, or a new watch, maybe? We will also be going over some of the new features in the latest beta version of the Android 12 that we will share with you. And we will have some discussions about, well, from my part. So I was talking at a conference in Iceland for a company called Siteimprove, where my topic was about how in the digital world, accessibility is a choice for companies and institutions. But what does that mean? And where are we today in regards to accessibility with both public and privately owned websites? So definitely some discussions will take place there. And we will also have an interview with Gleb Sevkov, CEO of Voxmate. And Pavel will be handling that interview for us. Voxmate is a self-voice launcher with many audio-first interfaces for services like YouTube, Reddit, and Telegram, and some of their own apps as well. So we have a jam-packed show for you guys, but let's start up with the news.
News or gadgets.
And then we have the jingle there, I guess.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Accessibility in the news.
Ongoing European Commission survey, where the objective is to seek feedback to improve public sector websites and mobile apps accessibility. We of course know that since June 2021, all public sector websites and mobile apps in the EU have the legal obligation to be accessible to people with disabilities. The last step, and the step now, is to just see how it's going. And they're searching to civilians, especially those with disabilities, but also businesses, online platforms, academics, and more, just to kind of, in real words, just let them know how you feel things are going. It has been open since June 23rd, and everyone can deliver until the 25th of October.
So there is still some time left.
There is still some time left. So please, we ask all to share their opinions. A nice feature that the online consultation will have itself, of course, it will be accessible to screen readers and translated in all EU official languages, and available in like a shorter, easy to read version for people with cognitive disabilities as well. So nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is important to give feedback because the results of this consultation will surely be a good input for future policy initiatives and revision of the Web Accessibility Directive. So please take some time and fill out this survey. It is important.
Agreed.
Yeah, I also think it's a good opportunity if you feel that all that the EU does is too little. If you think that all these directives and acts are not enough and that basically nothing is changing, it's also a good way to voice that. Because you see, somebody seems to care and somebody seems to at least issue these surveys and somebody wants to make these publications. So let your voice be heard and write to them, even if you feel completely dissatisfied, that you think this is not enough and you think that it looks nice on paper, but in reality, nothing has changed or very little has changed. Maybe it differs from country to country. Some countries take these EU initiatives more seriously, some a little bit less. But well, this is your space to do it, and you can do it in your own language, so it's also a good opportunity to let the EU know what you think.
Yeah, I would compare those surveys as, the same obligation for voting. I mean, yes, in some countries it's obligatory, in some countries it's not obligatory, but if you do it, you're going to change the global picture, and that's what people with disabilities eventually can do, because after you sign up those surveys, there are people who are going to read this information and some things probably will change. So yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, hopefully to the better. So a mod that allows blind players to enjoy the popular card battle game by Blizzard, the Hearthstone. So
Yes.
Pavel, that is something that you came up with.
Yes, and I'll try to explain the best I can. So
Elaborate.
Hearthstone is, if you heard of World of Warcraft, it's a very popular game. A lot of my colleagues, of my school friends, used to play it back in the day, and I think a lot of people still do.
I've heard, never played.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of these games. Like many games for blind people, but not with this one. With World of Warcraft, you have this whole world, a fantasy world of different races. Like I guess there are elves, dwarves, humans, of course, and other fantastic creatures. And you can, of course, develop your character there and do a lot of things. But Hearthstone is this in miniature. So you have all the characters from World of Warcraft, but this is a card battle game. So it means you start with some basic cards. You build your character, and your character has some cards. Each card is a sort of move that you can make. It's an attack or defense or whatever. It's a bit like playing Uno, except the cards are very powerful and they inflict damage, or they heal you, or they give you some advantage over your opponent. And your goal is basically to overpower your opponents with your cards, or overpower their set with your set. And these are very popular kinds of games, and they are also very accessible to the blind, because you don't need to make any moves. You don't wield a sword, and you don't jab it at your opponent. You just pick a card, and this card already does the whole job. So depending on what card you pick, so strong is or so weak is your move. And surprisingly, very few of these games seem to be accessible, even though technically they seem quite easy to be done. And Hearthstone is one of the most popular. It's so popular, in fact, that it's being played at international e-gaming competitions. So you could actually become an e-gamer and with playing this alone.
Mario, there's your chance.
What, for another job position as a card gamer?
To be a European champion, for example.
Yes. No thanks.
Okay.
that's for Pavel, man.
I don't actually play as much, but I have a lot of friends who do, and I find out about these things. And this is a very big deal because, as I said, the game is very popular. There was already a game before that was also accessible by using mods. It's called Slay the Spire. It's an indie game, so it's not so popular, or at least as popular as Hearthstone, but it's still... I know some people who aren't blind and who know this game. It's somewhere on Steam. And it was also quite playable. You could just use some commands or later even actually navigate with your arrow keys, and you could play it. And now we have a mod that actually makes Hearthstone accessible. All the installation steps are provided on the page that we'll link to in our show notes. But once you get it running, you should be able to navigate the menus and complete a couple of the campaigns there. It's not fully done yet. It's constantly developing, and I think the multiplayer mode isn't accessible yet. But this is definitely the plan. And I believe if the author keeps on going, we will have a really nice piece of gaming that we could do with our sighted family and friends in due time. It's also quite interesting to play because it has a dubbing in, I think, most languages. Definitely, I heard there is really well done dubbing in Polish. So apart from basically playing another card and another card, another card, you will hear some dialogues that are very well narrated and acted out. And the cards themselves, there are plenty of cards, very extended offering, where you can also combine these cards somehow, and they will produce different results if you do. So it's a very complex game. It's not just picking a card and playing it and it's gone. You actually can plan strategically while fighting your opponents, and you can go pretty far with this world. It's quite big, and there are updates coming up with new characters and new cards and new moves that you can take. So it's definitely something that will be developed, and it's good to keep a watch on it. This brings me to the point where I actually see that many games become accessible thanks to modding. Basically, modding is usually done to introduce some new characters or to make something that already is in the game look a bit different or sound a bit different, or also to build in some functions that weren't there. They were a bit like plugins. But I see that, so the game developers usually allow the mods because they want the players to be creative too. But I also see that the mods have started to be used as a means of accessibilizing the games. And I think it's great, because if a company doesn't feel the responsibility to make their games accessible, at least somebody who does can take up from there and create a mod. And I have heard of so many examples. I can think of 3-4 games right now which will become or are becoming accessible because of modding. And the results are really great. Like, somebody is really thinking there, contacting the blind players, asking what they need, what are the challenges, testing it afterwards, and so on. And because of this, we start to be included in the gaming. It's not going probably as fast as we would like to, but it's definitely not stale. Something is happening in there, and I'm really happy to see that. Maybe, I don't know, in 5-10 years, I will just come to my friend's house and we will have a nice PlayStation party playing something.
Just look at like The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a huge game changer there in accessibility for PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. So you're thinking this, and then actually there is this nice webpage, now that I think about it, caniplaythat.com. They usually do like accessibility-oriented reviews of games that are coming out, and they also interview the studios that make these games to see what kind of accessibility is implemented there, who can exactly play which game. Mostly it's sadly concentrated on partially sighted people and other disabilities, because it's obviously easier to program for these target groups. But from time to time, you're very likely to come across some heads up that there is a new game available for the blind as well.
Definitely link to that page in the show notes as well.
Yes.
Caniplaythat.com.
Mm-hmm.
Caniplaythat.com. Okay, sounds geeky.
But still not. I kind of liked about this what they take you like through the whole step. It's not just some mod that they do to make the game just accessible. They kind of take you from the start as a beginner. They take you through the tutorials, step-by-step leveling up, and accessible all the way. They have on the page that we're linking to as well, those six pointers just from the beginning. And I think it's a nice project. I really do.
Jesus, man, I'm really becoming old. I remember the time when I was a lot into the gaming and like audio games when they started to emerge, but that was like I was in my early 20s, and now it's like okay.
I think the meaning of gaming has changed too, because it used to be entertainment for geeks. So like your parents would tell you, what are you doing playing these stupid games all day long? You would go to study otherwise or something, get to your lessons. And now it's a sport. It's a legitimate sport art that people are playing and actually becoming professional at. It's also a nice way to tell a story, because you can watch a film, you can watch a TV series, you can read a book, you can listen to radio drama, but you can also play a game and learn about, I don't know, the history of Europe or the world or...
No, I agree. Rome. They can be educational. That's there's no doubt about them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I will never be able to thank Football Manager enough for initially teaching me English. I think most of my initial English I learned through the Football Manager PC games.
Is it something like FIFA or what was that?
Yeah, but much calmer. So you are like the manager. So you kind of choose the team, choose the lineup, buy and sell, and renegotiate. So it's none of the like, oh, hurry up, press that one, shoot. None of that. So just kind of, it's probably the best waste of time I've ever tried in my life.
That's where you trained your skills for your other profession. Okay.
Yeah. Totally.
There is Hattrick, which is also a web-based football manager, and this is, as far as I know, accessible. So if you're blind and you would like to manage some fictitious football team, you can do this too.
Yeah, I already tried it with the Football Manager, and that was not accessible at all. Even though I think it's around 2 children ago, last time I had some time to actually play video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but it's good that we are included in this as well. It's important not to fall behind socially.
No, I absolutely agree. I was just, saying from my perspective.
Yeah, sure.
And we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think Mario will be playing in a few years' time.
Probably with some more instruments, though. Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps. But Mario, you have also some news for us with the Sunu app.
Yes, the thing is that, at least from the Android side, there was a long silence of not getting the updates for the Android users of the Sunu app, and then we started getting the updates for the last, let's say, 3 weeks. So right now the app should be kind of, by the features, the same as the iOS app. And if you look into the features of the app, you can see that this bottom screen contains a little bit more tabs, and all of those tabs have some more features, and they make sense. Like they improved they added some extra customizations for the sonar, for the angles, and for you can also configure how do you want your Sunu to be used, like which preferred mode do you want to have. So for instance, if you want to have like the sonar and the compass at the startup, or you want to have something else from their feature, you can now configure what you want and select it with the secondary button. So not the home button, but the second one for the sonar. What do you want to use? Which of the, let's say, sub apps? However, I had a very weird situation with my Sunu band until I didn't discover what's happening. I thought that my Sunu band has died. And why it happened? Well, because I had the update and my Sunu band was discharged for a few weeks, so I charged it and I wanted to get it up and running. And then I got notification that there is a new update, which happens from time to time. There is a new update for the Sunu band itself. And it asked me, do I want to install the update? So I said yes. And then it went to upload the update, and after it would upload, the Sunu band would die. Like completely. It would not react. There was no reaction to the tabs, nothing. And even the resetting of the Sunu band didn't help. And I was like, what the hell is happening? So I was plugging and unplugging from the charger, trying this and that. And after some time, it would come back. And then I would try again, and it would happen again. Until I didn't bring the Sunu band to one of my colleagues at work who's also using it, but he's the iPhone user. So I asked him, like, could you just connect the Sunu band to your phone and that we can see what's going on? And he connected just right away, and it was running fine. And so then I said, okay, well, what's happening? I'm going to uninstall the app and reinstall it again. So after I uninstalled the app, the Sunu band started behaving normally. And then I discovered, like, oh, this is not the app thing. It's the Bluetooth related thing. And sometimes it happens if you're on Android 11 and you want to connect to some other Bluetooth device. Sometimes you are not able to connect properly, and you need to turn off your Bluetooth on your phone and turn it on again. And after you turn it on again, everything runs as normal as it can be. So yes, it was the Android and Bluetooth thing related. Fortunately, nothing wrong with my Sunu, and now it's running just fine. So it's okay. If you're on the Android side and you're using Sunu, yeah, make sure that first you try to turn off your Bluetooth and turn it on again, and then you should be free to go.
And the moral of this story is that patience is a virtue.
Yeah, probably.
But were there any new features in this update as well?
Did you receive, Mario, the Sunu Academy because this was one of the one of the updates that I received. So now you have modules for all the features in the Sunu band. Even before you run it, you can go through all of that through the application.
Yes. It's there. Yeah. So now you can.
I think it's
good for the new users. Definitely.
Much more detailed from what it was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before it was rather basic instructions. Now it's much more detailed, and I think it's important because you want to be safe when you walk with the Sunu band.
Sure.
That's the whole point of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Especially because the learning curve for that
it takes a bit of time.
Yeah, it takes some time. Even though I really think that it's a very good gadget, but if you don't learn how to use it properly, you can get confused very quickly, and then people can start saying that the device sucks and that it's not doing what's supposed to do. But no, it's everything is fine, but you really need to spend some time with it.
See, there were some new navigation features like where am I, places, search, categories, my favorites, and street pointer.
Yeah, that's also being added. Although those features were coming like gradually, they started appearing in, each update had something. So, but right now they kind of grouped them, and it looks much more polished. Let's say like that.
Right. And they partnered with Lazarillo.
Yes, this is something that I'm really looking forward.
Me too.
Because maybe for the last 2.5 years, from my point of view, Lazarillo is the app that I'm using the most from the navigational apps. So now, since Sunu and Lazarillo made a partnership, now you can use the Lazarillo from the Sunu itself by going to this navigation tab, and then when you use it with the Lazarillo, it's giving you vibrational instructions as well, like where are you facing, what's on which side, and etc. So that's also something that didn't exist before.
Anything else you would like to add before we move on?
No.
So next up are the gadgets.
Okay, so there is something I got because it's my birthday coming, and I thought for a while now I haven't had a Bluetooth speaker because my previous one, which was quite a cheap one actually, from some company that is not very well known, I guess, it basically stopped working. So I thought I'll go for something that is more known, and after searching wide and far, I came up with the idea of getting myself a JBL Link Portable, which is of course a Bluetooth speaker, but it's also a Wi-Fi enabled speaker, and it's Google Home compatible. So from the start you can turn on the voice assistant on it, of course the Google one, and it also supports both Chromecast and AirPlay. So no matter what device you have, if you're an Apple user or an Android user, you can stream directly to the speaker from the apps that support it. And it was an interesting experience. I set it up by myself. Everything was pretty clear from the start. And now it's here next to me, and I can try to turn it on. It pretty much works similarly to all these Google Home speakers. You set it up and it starts using the assistant straight away. I tried to play some music with it so far, but sadly I don't have any Spotify or YouTube Music subscription, so I could only play some YouTube Music stations, they are called, like radio stations made by other people, which is the only thing you can do for free. There it goes.
By the way, the mic's off right now. To turn it back on, Press the button that controls the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. I keep my microphone muted because, well, I don't want Google to listen to me all the time. And I must say I quite liked the sound of it from the start, even though I just had limited capabilities to play music. I also tried calling somebody on Duo, and this is a feature I really liked. I didn't think I would need something like this, but now I feel like I have a landline phone, because there is just a speaker standing here, and people can reach me anytime on Duo, and I can just pick it up on the speaker. It's almost like I had an actual phone at home.
No, this is one of the things which I'm also using with my Google Duo quite often, and it's really handy. Especially because I don't know how it's with your JBL, but Duo has various sets of mics, which are really catching up the noise. I mean, your voice from quite far away, so you can be moving around your room, and you would still be heard enough on the other side. So yes.
I think yes. I think it. I don't know how many microphones the JBL has, but what my friend told me when we spoke was definitely that he could hear me well. He could hear me with very high quality for a speaker. And he could hear me, I don't know if as well, but definitely he could hear me from some distance apart. And he could notice that there was some echo, as you probably can, but that's the fault of the room. And other than that, we were talking for a bit, for like a couple of good minutes before we disconnected, and I was basically going around my room, and he could hear me all the time. He never complained, like, what did you say? Could you repeat?
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So it's really good, and I really like. Then he called me back, and I could pick it up as well. The thing it suddenly somehow doesn't want to do, and I don't know why. I think it's some political stuff between Google, JBL, and TuneIn. I can't play any radio stations by Google Assistant.
Like none of them or some of them?
None of them. It's whenever I say play and it comes the name of the station, and even if I say with TuneIn or without TuneIn, it doesn't matter. He will try to play stuff from YouTube Music, as if TuneIn wasn't there.
Okay. So exactly, play the radio, it just gives a command directly to the YouTube.
Yes. This, or it tells me that that TuneIn doesn't support playlists, but if I try to ask it, like, could you play some radio, it will basically tell me all the help page for TuneIn. So it sort of has it there, but it doesn't react to any of my radio requests.
I don't know what's going on with the TuneIn anyways, because what I noticed on the home device is that it seems like that the devices which are supporting the TuneIn have like a TuneIn free version. And it seems that TuneIn, for whatever reason, started making some changes or whatever. I would say maybe these are also the bugs. I don't know. But what I'm currently seeing with, for example, few Croatian stations is the fact that the same station will play on my TuneIn on the phone, but if I give the same command to the home device, it will announce that the station is playing, but I would never be able to hear the station. And you can check out if this is happening when you start, for example, you start streaming the station from your home, and from your phone. I'm sorry. And then if the station starts playing on your phone, you can press the cast button.
Yes.
If the station starts casting, then it's 90% chance that it will work on the home. But there are situations when you press cast and nothing happens. And this is the situations, for example, with those few stations which I'm encountering, that, they start playing normally on the phone, but when I press the cast button, I just hear the silence on the home device.
Okay. Oh, I heard my station fine when I cast it, and this is the thing that I wanted to come to. I googled this a little bit, and it seems like people are having these problems too, and Google even knows about it, and Google is recommending as a workaround to cast from your phone. But that's not the point.
Bizarre. That's
sure.
That's total bizarre. That doesn't make sense to have the speaker then. Why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's comfortable to have it casting. I mean, good for you. You can use your screen reader, do anything else on the phone, but you need to keep the app open at all times, and it's stupid.
And it's draining your phone battery.
That too, yeah. And so I don't know. I can't do this, but I guess it could work with the podcasts. I hope.
The mic's back on.
Okay, Google, play the latest episode of the EBU Access Cast podcast.
Okay, here's the latest episode of EBU Access Cast, ebuaccesscast33, playing on Google Podcasts.
Program is financially supported by
Whoa!
the European Commission.
Okay, Google,
Here we are.
stop. Okay, there we go.
But then to the most important question of all.
Mhm.
How is the bass?
Please!
Didn't you hear it? I thought it came through in the recording. I think it's
Sounded good to me, though.
yeah. That's why I picked the podcast, because we have a nice intro for testing speakers. Anyway, yeah, I'm quite satisfied. I wasn't, let's say, courageous enough yet to turn it up very loud, because I also mind my neighbors' quiet and peace, and my flatmate too. So I haven't really gone really to the 100% with it, but I had a chance to play with similar speakers also from JBL at the MediaMarkt last weekend, and they can be quite loud. I think it will get the party started if you need to.
Mm. And it's a stereo set of speakers, I suppose.
Sadly, no. It's
No.
it's one mono speaker, sadly. But it has this live, how is it called? 360 live music.
It is 360 degrees, so you can basically place it anywhere. I have a Samsung 360 degree speaker at home also, and I don't mind that it's not a stereo.
Yeah, for music, it's not as important, and mostly I think I'll be listening to either music or spoken word on this. So I was ready to sacrifice the stereo.
But if it's not the stereo speaker, why didn't you go for the home device then?
It was actually a funny coincidence that I picked this one. It turned out that because of where I'm working right now, I am eligible for some discounts with some shops. And
okay.
there you can only pick from the brands that they have. And initially, I just wanted a Bluetooth speaker. I didn't think I will need a smart speaker. I just thought, well, I primarily need a Bluetooth speaker, so if I go somewhere or I just want to play some music a bit louder than my phone speakers or just listen to something in the background, I will need this. And then I started looking at what JBL has, and well, they had regular speakers, they had speakers with DAB radio receivers, with the digital radio receivers. But consulting some friends of mine who know their stuff, it turned out that these receivers aren't very good. So I just dropped the idea, and then I saw this portable link, and it wasn't much more expensive than the Flip. Flip is like a €100 speaker. It's a standard speaker. I think mostly you will get this if you want to just have a Bluetooth speaker for just listening at home or parties or anything. And this wasn't much more expensive than that with the discount that I had. And it had the smart functions. So I thought, okay, if I can have both and it's not so much more expensive, why not go for this? And I just was initially thinking, well, I only need the Google Cast and the Chromecast and AirPlay. That's nice that it's there, because then I can just cast anything anywhere around the house. But then I also saw Google Assistant, and I started playing with the calling, with the weather, with other things, and I'm like, oh, okay, I will not keep it on all the time, but it's useful. It's there. If I have it, it's good to have it. And I'm quite satisfied with the quality here. And I can also remove it from the docking station. I can totally run it on battery and take it anywhere with me in the backpack. It's not that big. And turn it on somewhere at the lake and just keep playing some nice music. So I think it's both in one, and I quite like this approach.
Yeah, so
sounds like a happy birthday to me.
Yeah, I'm satisfied. I just need a bit more time to play with it still, but I, for example, don't know what the docking station is for. I thought it's for charging, but I don't see any cables going into it or from it, so I don't know how to operate
it.
This.
Looked like from the pictures I saw on the website that it was for charging.
I thought so too, but the cable port is on the front of the speaker, and I can put the USB in there, and the USB-C, by the way, and I don't see where I could put the other end, and I don't see where I could put the power cord, so I still have to figure it out. And sadly, the manual is mostly pictures. So
that's what I wanted to ask. Like, have you checked the manual? But
yes, I have, and it's mostly pictures from what I could gather. So I'll just have to ask somebody to explain it to me.
You know, sometimes when you encounter such things with hardware, what might help is to get through few reviews on some websites, because those reviews go through all the details, and they can mention this kind of features there, so you can get the clue what
You're
to
right.
do with.
You're right.
I mean,
I
I had the same situation. I mean, similar situation with one of my very small Bluetooth guitar practice amps, which I purchased last year, which is also having its it's quite simple to use, but still there are some features which you need to press and in order to get to different functions, and the manual from that amp was completely in pictures or in some spoken words, but nothing understandable for screen readers. So I watched some YouTube reviews, and then one of the guys explained all the features, what I need to do, and I was like, okay. So yes.
Reading a bit here, it says that it is a charging station, the bottom of it, but of course that will need to be plugged in, and I'm of course not sure, but sometimes like things do not work while they're charging. So if it's being charged on top of the docking or charging station, then it might not be able to work while it's there. But you should be able to charge it with the bottom of it.
The bottom. At the bottom, I have like a round field. It's like a circle in a circle. You know what? I think I see it. There is a tiny, teensy USB port at one of the walls of the circle in the middle.
Yes, dear listeners, this is what's happening when you give a gadget to the blind person.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Oh.
Good, I'll play with this some more. And I also haven't paired it in Bluetooth mode yet, so that's something also I'll have to explore. But what I have tried, and this is also quite a nice tip if you own anything that supports Chromecast, not just the JBL, there is a piece of software. Actually, it turns out there are two pieces of software. I just found one yesterday, or the day before, that let you stream anything you want over Google Cast or Chromecast, if you will, from your PC with Windows. And the first one is called Desktop Chromecast Audio Streamer. I think that's how it's called. It's Desktop Audio Streamer, simply. That's how it's registered in my start menu. It's a Windows software. It's accessible, and there you can pick any sound card you have on your system, be it input or output. So you can even use your microphone or mixer, anything, and you can stream any sound that comes through it onto your Google compatible speakers. So I could choose my JBL easily, and I could stream. I use the virtual audio cable, which is a virtual sound card for streaming things from one software to another. And I just used it as an empty sound card to stream the Fubar music I was, or audiobook I was playing with the Fubar 2000 onto my speaker. And it worked. It was had a bit of a delay, sadly, but it worked in the end. And I must say I'm very happy it did, because now only my imagination limits me. I can play radio, I can play anything from the web, I can play any music, just anything I want, I can play on the speaker. Wouldn't use it for meetings or for webinars or for anything where I need to interact, because the delay is quite severe. It's a couple of seconds actually. So it's not good for talking with people, for example. But at least if there is any content I want to listen anywhere in my house, as long as my Wi-Fi connection keeps up, I can just stream it. And it's very comfortable. There is also a second software called Music Caster, which lets you also stream the sound of your sound card. Sadly, you cannot choose which one, so probably the default one. But also any music file you give it, any playlist you give it, or any URL, so I suppose radio or any audio stream you give it. So there are tools, and this Music Caster is especially it's neat because it just sits in your system tray, and whenever you need to cast something, you just go to your system tray, pick the icon, go to the menu, you choose the speaker, you choose the thing you want to play, and then off it goes. So there is software to do this, and I also saw that there is something for Mac. And of course, there is plenty of apps you can stream from on your iOS or Android device. So this kind of speaker is really useful. And again, I thought I wouldn't need it, and I didn't think I would buy a Wi-Fi enabled speaker by chance, but I came across this model, and now I don't regret it.
There we go. DJ Pavel in action.
Yes. Now I just need a mixer.
Well, Christmas is
That's the
coming
next gadget.
Soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Looking forward to hear about that in the next episode.
Oh yeah, Christmas is coming soon.
Yeah.
Or Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, you had something to share as well, didn't you?
Yes, actually, I had the need to minimize some windows while working, since this option was not available inside those programs.
You need to minimize some windows. What
some windows and some programs.
Aha.
So I found the minimize to tray, which does what the name says. So it minimizes programs by pressing a shortcut. The shortcut is just Alt F1 to minimize a program, and you can retrieve it by pressing Alt F2. It is a portable program, so it doesn't start automatically. You have to start it every time. But what I did, I put a shortcut on my desktop. So if I need it, I just activate it, and then I just need to use those shortcuts. So it's simple, and it works. And actually, it said that Windows already, as an operating system, doesn't provide this option, because it's very handy to have programs in the system tray.
Yeah, it is.
But well,
there is also this NVDA plugin. I don't know if you tried it. The Windows Wizard, or something like this. WinWizard. And it lets you hide any window you have open into a slot. So if you press, I think it's NVDA Control 1 or something, then you hide the currently focused window in slot number 1, and then you can unhide it with the same shortcut. And you have unlimited stacks of these windows, so you can keep hiding and unhiding.
Okay, good to know. Even though I'm always changing screen readers all the time, because some screen readers read something, some other read others things, like NVDA reads better something, just some other programs. So in my case, wouldn't work, but it's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
But what about us who have nothing to hide?
Then you have all the windows shown.
Yeah. You're exposed then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys. Some lovely gadgets. And again, we are looking forward to hearing about Pavel's mixer on the next episode. So, next one is a thing that I personally don't use a lot of myself, but I do know, and I have heard that Twitter hasn't always exactly been an accessible friend. We were taking a look at this thing called Tweesecake. Mario, not cheesecake, actually. Pavel, you were taking a closer look at what this does. I can see it's kind of a way to be able to use keyboard commands on Twitter and Telegram, even though I don't use Telegram myself, navigate file systems and much more.
Yeah, probably a lot of our completely blind listeners will know this Twitter client fashion that is still very much the standard, that your favorite Twitter client is the client where you turn on the program, the keyboard commands are there, and the only thing you ever get is a feedback from your screen reader. So you can handle all of the Twitter operations without ever leaving any of your existing windows. So you can be in Word and reading something, you can be on the web browsing something, and you just press or that keyboard command and you are reading 2 or 3 further tweets and replying to one and writing a new one of your own. We did use even TW Blue and I think the Cube at some point, even on the EBU AccessCast Twitter account. It's just so easy to manage that way. And, well, Tweesecake started off as another one of these clients. We also had Quinter in the last month or two. And Tweesecake started out like this as well, but then the author decided you can do so much more with this concept. You don't have to limit yourself to yet another Twitter client, which will make probably no difference because there are so many of them. You can create new interfaces for new things. And so he, apart from Twitter, he also made a Telegram client, a file explorer in which you can, of course, browse files, copy, paste, move around. It's quite easy. You can, if you remember the Twitter buffers, you had buffer for the home timeline, you had a buffer for the mentions, for direct messages. In the Explorer, you have a buffer for each folder that you open, for all your hard drives, and there is also a buffer for shortcuts where you can place all your favorite folders and files. It's a bit like your desktop, really. And the good thing about it also is that you can open text files in it. So you can open a TXT file in a separate buffer, and you can read invisibly, line by line, what is there in the file. It's not very comfortable for books, I guess, but for tiny notes or for documentation or change logs, things like that, it's actually quite neat. I, for example, read the Tweesecake changelog that way. You can also preview multimedia files, which is quite practical for, let's say you have a bunch of short files, like some ringtones, notifications, or some samples you would like to use, some sound effects, and you quickly want to browse them. You go over the files and just press one shortcut and it plays. And it's quite interesting that it gets all these functions, because it expands further. You have a radio feature in there as well, where you can just search for a radio station, add it to your favorites, and play it straight from this invisible interface. So this is also quite practical. You just have your radio in the background. You can start and stop it or find a new station. You can check what song is playing right now. But what I use the most is the Telegram feature, because it also has a Telegram interface. And this is really my favorite way to communicate now, because you just switch over to the Telegram session. It's still invisible. You navigate through all your chats, or if you want to, you can open your contacts, and there you see your contacts sorted by last online parameter. And you just pick one person, you open the buffer with the chat, or you don't even have to open the chat, you just press Windows Alt N, and you type the message, you press enter, and it's gone. It was sent, everything is gone, there is no window, the job is done, you can get on with your things. And then when somebody responds, you just find the chat again, or even leave it open, the buffer with the individual chat, and you just navigate up, Windows Alt Up Arrow, Windows Alt Up Arrow, and you can read the message, you can listen to it if it's a voice message, you can download the file if it's a file that somebody sent you. And with Telegram offering all these groups, channels, and bots, this has a really great potential, because especially the bots, they let you exchange files with different services. They let you check on different things. I even found an Android app where you can register for yourself a bot to exchange your SMS messages. So you can even, by this sort of gateway, send and receive your SMS messages from an invisible interface on your PC. And I think this is pretty great. The implications are countless. Again, your imagination chooses. And I'm also quite curious to see what is going to happen to this in the future. Like, what kind of sessions are we going to have supported in the next releases? The authors have some ideas. I think what they're considering right now is Mastodon, which is this decentralized Twitter, where you can have your own server and your own instance, and you choose with which other servers you want to be in touch. I think they also thought of an email client. That would be interesting too, especially for all these mailing lists with lots of messages on them.
Yeah, it would be.
And I think they want to expand more into the player scene, so at least to the point where you can comfortably listen to audiobooks. That's what I heard so far. People have been also asking about possibly opening some kind of API for developers to code their own sessions, and the authors said they wouldn't say no, but they have to think it through, how to best approach it. And yeah, basically you have a lot of possibilities. Now there is also an ability to open a window, like a physical GUI window, where you can navigate with your regular screen reader commands. This is especially handy for people who use Braille, I suppose. But maybe not only, maybe some people just prefer a simple window-based interface. You have some more windows to hide. And yes, I'm quite curious to see how it develops. For now, it's free of charge, but the authors don't hide it from us that it will be paid in the future. And I sort of see why, because if they want to offer different services, especially a lot of services that require access to paid API, I guess you will need at some point to have your costs returned, and also you would probably like to have your time recovered in money if you're developing such a complex piece of software. So I sort of see why they want to go this way. I hope it will not be very expensive. They mentioned they want to keep it below $5 or something, or €5. I think they said $5, although one of the developers is from the UK, as far as I know. But, well, let's not speculate. Let's wait and see what happens. At any rate, I keep my fingers crossed, and I don't know, has anyone else of you, maybe Tanya or Mario, have you tried it yet? Or
No.
Actually not, because I'm not using Telegram.
Mhm.
And for Twitter, if I'm using, because last period I was not really checking Twitter much. But if I'm using it, then I'm using the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it will develop to the point where it will offer something interesting for you as well, because I think it has potential, this kind of interface. And well, let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I'm guessing you all have your COVID passes up and running and ready to go.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there is this service, getcovidpass.eu, which allows you to create a digital copy of your COVID certificate and safely place it in your phone wallet.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of this? This is, of course, not an official EU operation of any kind. This is a third-party invention.
Yes, but it's made by a company in the Czech Republic that specializes in generating passes like this for mobile wallets. And apparently this company is providing services for insurance companies. They said AXA, they said Allianz, so really big names on the market.
Yeah, major players, yeah.
And I guess if you trust them and the suppliers they choose, you can also trust this service.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's your choice what you do. I was also hesitant at the beginning, but eventually I tried it, and I'm really happy I did.
Actually,
Sorry, Mario, you go ahead.
No, actually, I wanted to say that I'm really happy that Pavel found out about this, because it seemed at the end of the day that this is the most accessible solution so far. So if you go back into our previous episode, you will remember that we talked about various PDF readers for our smartphones where we could see our certificates. Well, it turned out that in practical situation, it's not working as it's supposed to. So even if you would open the certificate in the Google Drive as we suggested, or Dropbox PDF viewer, or whatever, it would still be small. And it would still need to be zoomed. And I had practical situations that people on the checking points had troubles with getting it on my screen, and etc., which wasn't the case with this COVID Pass, getcovidpass.eu. First of all, the whole experience, I initiated the whole experience from my phone. And that was great because you can do all the stuff from the browser. Everything is 100% accessible. And at the end, when you get your COVID Pass ready for your wallet, in my case it was a Google Wallet for Android, it's accessible. And it's visible right away when you click on basically it's your card that gets imported into the wallet. So it's really it's visible 100%, and people can scan it and you are ready to go if your pass is valid. And I found it the best choice so far, because it turned out to be that every country has their own kind of system of generating those PDF files. And for example, I found out that in Croatia, people are able to import their PDF certificates into the Croatian version of the app, but then they have some password which they need to enter, and that password is only available on their certificates. So, for example, I could not import my Luxembourgish certificate, even though they say, yeah, it's valid for all EU, but I could not import it into the Croatian app. And it's a whole mess around with, going from country to country. And this Get COVID Pass EU solves that situation. At the end, you get something that's decent for whatever platform you have, and as long as you have your basically QR code which needs to be scanned, you're ready to go.
Well, I'm not in the EU actually, but I tried this out with my Icelandic certificate, and it worked like a charm in like 2 minutes.
I think it works with EU plus the European Economical Zone area, where Iceland is also taking part. I think, like this Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, they're also...
And Switzerland, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes, I think in Iceland you also have EU certificate. I mean, the COVID EU certificate is far from what I remember from the Commission website. But for me, it worked perfectly also with the Apple Wallet. It was fully accessible. I opened the page from the mobile phone, uploaded the PDF on the website, agreed to their privacy, and it was just imported to the Apple Wallet, and it works. And I can see all my data in the COVID Pass. So it's really accessible and it works.
Same here. I didn't have a PDF, sadly, so I had to ask for help scanning the code of the paper. I guess maybe if I tried it on my own, it would have worked because it's live scanning. It's not taking a photo or anything. It's just you have to point the camera and it has to scan. So maybe I would have had luck, but I didn't want to bother so much, so I just asked somebody to help me. And it also imported fine. I needed to install this Your Wallet app on Android.
Me too.
To get it running. Yeah,
me too.
Which is good for the future because it's compatible with this Apple-style passes. Sadly, they aren't very popular in, I think, neither Poland nor Austria, so I can't get like my train tickets in there, or my tickets for concerts or any events. But I think some airline tickets are available this way too, so it's good to have this app.
But my understanding is that you are able to make your own, so you can scan your whatever you have. Let's say you purchased the card or the ticket, and you can scan the ticket from the wallet app, and then it makes the version for the wallet.
Oh, I'll need to try that.
Yeah,
that'll be quite cool, actually.
Because there is the option that there is the button where it says add card, and then you can basically scan whatever you need to scan, and then it's there.
Okay. No, I quite liked it too, the whole experience there, and I think it's good to keep it that way, as you said, Mario, for like full screen operation and anything. It's also quite easy to do, as you said, universal, and you can read all the data, which is also important that you have it there.
Actually, I just remember the thing that I tried uploading the certificate, the same certificate which I have from the computer, and the app said that it has the problem with recognizing my certificate, which was bizarre. So I said, well, okay, maybe it's better if I do it from my phone, and eventually it worked fine.
Yes, probably because that process, as soon as you upload the PDF and to convert it to the wallet, cannot be done on the desktop.
It shouldn't matter.
Probably because of that.
I don't know.
It was stopped or blocked.
Yeah, well,
it makes sense that you do it directly on the mobile phone, because anyway you will use it on the mobile phone.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it generates, I think, a tiny file. I think this pass wallet passes have some PKG, whatever format.
Yeah.
In which
there are
they're
two
compatible.
options. There are two options here in the Your Pass app. You can add a digital pass, which says add a non-payment card in PK Pass format by scanning a QR code, or you can digitize a card. So you digitize your own non-payment card, for example, plastic or paperboard. So I guess a concert ticket or a library card or anything like that would be possible.
I need to try with something else. Next time I travel, I guess.
Awesome. So everyone is happy.
Yeah,
that was great.
I really hope that this service stays as long as the COVID pass stays. So, yeah, because so far this really solved all the problem that we had, and it was. I was really looking for something fully digital because I don't want to, drag papers around.
Yeah, we were also trying out many different PDF readers just to see which one would open it up with it not zoomed in. Just too much work. So it's very good that it is working as it is.
Even though I also had one weird situation with my certificate, and it turned out that for whatever reason, iPhones are the best if they have to scan my certificate. Because if some other Android phones are scanning, I'm not able to get green. So, yeah, it's bizarre.
Talking about Apple, they were hosting an online event, on the 14th? Awesome name though, California Streaming. Love that one.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it now? iPhone 13.
That's unlucky number.
Only if you buy it on a Friday.
Not superstitious.
That's unlucky number. Those iPhones are going to break.
And you heard it first here on the EBU Access Cast.
Yeah.
The 13 gate.
So Tanya, what will you be shopping for after
the event? My iPhone 10 still works well, but from what I read, the iPhone 13 will have a bigger battery, which is maybe something I'm looking forward. It's there are also better camera, a smaller notch. I don't know whether this is really of interest to us. Maybe yes, for some applications that uses the camera.
But aren't the prices going down? That is of interest to everyone, I guess.
The prices?
Yeah.
I think what happened is that they are dropping the 64 gigs model altogether. So what happens then is, I think, but I'm not sure, to some extent the capacities will sort of slide. At least the 128 should cost more or less as much as the 64 used to cost before. So for now, in the US, the iPhone 13 mini 128 gigs was capped at $700. Just trying to look up how much it will be in euros.
But do you think that the prices will stay just because normally in Europe it costs a bit more?
Yeah, and especially now, how is the situation with the all chip out shortage?
Yeah, the global prices of aluminum and all.
Yeah, I don't know when.
I think I've heard that aluminum is going up for around 80% increase.
Yeah,
oops.
Yeah, ups, definitely ups.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say it was in dollars? 700 US. So that would be around 600 euros.
But converting it, I don't know if it's a good idea, because usually they will agree on some different pricing for different regions.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just look it up. Maybe I'll have it in a bit. But yeah, it's definitely means that the 64 is gone and 128 is now the default cheapest option.
Okay, so you're getting pretty much more for the same if you're going bigger than 32. Hopefully, yeah.
But what really made me happy is the fact that apparently the iPhone 13 mini is getting all the sensors of the 12 Pro Max, so I will really hope there will be a LiDAR in it.
Yeah.
That would be quite good, because the reason why I think iPhone 12 mini, great phone, but no LiDAR. And LiDAR, it's maybe not yet, but maybe in the future quite essential for blind people.
Oh yeah, Pavel is going to the architecture. He's going to construct the houses.
Yeah, no, actually you already have some apps like the Seeing AI, which is able to tell you the distance from objects by using LiDAR. So it could be quite a deal breaker in the future. I know we've had this for a year now, and there hasn't been a major breakthrough yet with this, but at least it's already used for some things like that. So yeah, I'm quite curious to see what happens to it. Of course, also the bigger battery, slightly faster CPU, so slightly that they don't compare it even to the older models anymore. They just compare it to the competition.
What about the fingerprints sensor? Is it still there on the Mini or not?
Good question. I heard that somehow the Face ID is gone somewhere on the iPad. No, I
hope they will drop it, because it's so annoying with the mask.
Even though you have the profile to make the... I know that now you have the profile in the Face ID that you can make it if you have a mask. So it's somehow able to recognize you.
Or if I could choose, I would rather have the world could drop the masks than than dropping the face detection.
Anyway, apparently this faster CPU, it has some new AI capabilities on board, and it should be possible to recognize text in real time better and to recognize objects and buildings. So this could be also quite something for us. Also, there is the new Apple Watch Series 7, which is a bit bigger, I think by a millimeter. The screen is bigger by a millimeter. But the difference is already big enough that you can, apparently, according to Apple, put the whole keyboard on it. So finally you'll be able to type somehow on the Apple Watch.
Can you imagine?
Hard to imagine.
Can you imagine typing Braille?
I was wondering about that too, but they would have to think of some one-hand system. They tried this with some Android Braille keyboards, that you split it into two halves, and first you type the first half, then you type the second 4, 5, 6 dots. I think it's kind of tedious, but I can't think of anything better.
Maybe we could just go back to Morse.
Oh yeah, slate and stylus, yeah.
Dot by dot. Yeah, who knows? We will see what happens.
It will be interesting. There were a lot of new. Let's call it gadgets. I like the word gadgets. But
the impression generally is that not much has changed. And I guess if you look at the 12, the change is not significant. But I think this kind of events or this kind of years where they don't really innovate hardcore, it's good for people who are thinking of get on board, switch from something different, because you don't regret like, oh my god, I could have got the cheaper model which offers so much less, or the more expensive model that offers so much more. Here you just choose, okay, maybe if the newer model doesn't offer so much more really, the older one will still do and it will drop in price. So
yeah, so the 2020 SE is even going to get cheaper. So for those of you who want to get the iPhone, well, maybe that's still something to go for.
Like Mario.
Maybe, you never know. I'm just waiting for Croatian Siri voice. That's what I said.
Ooh, I will first wait for voiceover. Because Siri, we don't have Siri in Polish either, although we have a Polish voiceover voice. And we're still waiting. There is even this, I think, a web page when Siri will be available in Polish.pl or something like that. And no, is Siri available in Polish.pl or something like that? And if you go there, it just says no. And that's the whole point of the web page. And they're going to update it as soon as something new turns up.
And it will be updated to yes.
Maybe. Or maybe never.
I guess I will not be holding my breath for the Icelandic Siri then.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Speaking of those voice-over voices or vocalizer voices which are being built into the iOS, I really don't get it. Why Croatian voice is not integrated there, because we have it for 5 years. Even though it has many quirks, but it's vocalizer voice. So, yeah. Or why Google doesn't integrate Croatian to the list of languages? Even though it's funny, because now this is really bizarre. Like, Google is able to talk Serbian if you ask it to use it in the interpreter mode. It's using this neural Serbian voice, which sounds quite okay, but that neural voice is not available in the offline version for the Google TTS yet.
Only the online translator.
Yep. And Croatian is still who knows where.
Yeah.
And, at the same time, Croatia is part of the European Union and Serbia is not. So.
But I think Google doesn't care about you.
Yeah, seems like that.
Maybe you should just switch over to Apple and see if they love you more.
No. No.
Not really.
No.
Okay, but since Mario doesn't seem to be switching over to Apple, then maybe, Mario, you're willing to discuss the newest Android 12 Beta 4 release, which is...
I don't have it.
No, you don't have it, but
No.
you might be able to discuss it.
I could say...
Two different things.
Yeah. Well, it seems for the beginning that from what I was reading about and from what I heard from the people who have the beta, they really optimized the devices and it seems faster than the previous version, which is good to see, and it's using much less resources. So it's also people who are like you could see that on the Pixel devices, people are having much more battery power than before, which is good.
Always good.
Yeah. However,
battery power is like gold.
Yeah. However, in regarding to the accessibility information, well, there's not much information about it for now, and I don't think that we will see so much. Even though Google can surprise stuff, I've heard some stuff that are being in the pipeline for TalkBack, but yeah, TalkBack is always a Kinder surprise. you never know what to expect.
Comes out once a year, you mean?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things. But another thing is that you might get some features that you never wanted to have, or some features that work or used to work no longer work.
Yeah.
Usually not as expected.
Yeah, or maybe, who knows, maybe some more languages pop up. But for this, I'm kind of very low optimistic, but, well, we'll see.
Yeah, I could see 4 new features that I find interesting. But again, like you said, Mario, nothing in regards to how accessible it is or will be. But we have the scrolling screenshots. So if you're taking like a multiple screenshot of a web page or anything that doesn't fit entirely into your screen, well, now you will be able to screenshot and scroll it down outside of the range of the screen. So you can maybe take one screenshot instead of 5 or 6 or 7. So that is something that people have been waiting for. Also, the change of the display. I myself have been waiting for this for a couple of years, because always when I'm using my phone while lying in bed and turning on to the side, the damn thing always switches over to landscape. So now they're offering you to use the front camera, so it can detect how your face is oriented against the phone. So they can in a more smart fashion know when to go to landscape or change the orientation of the screen, because they know how the phone turns, and they also know what your face is turning. as well. The in-app search is something that I find interesting as well. So you can search for things that aren't only apps, but you can search for things that are inside the apps as well, like calendar events, things on your to-do list, and many more. No apps have started using this yet, but this definitely sounds like something that will grow popular in a short time. And privacy is, of course, the new fashion. So you
Like
can now
always,
see,
privacy.
privacy. So now you can, in a new privacy dashboard, see detailed information in a dashboard. And you know what dashboards are like. We have no idea how accessible that will be once we get a look at it. But you can see how many and which apps have accessed your location, camera, and microphone in the past 24 hours. So you can have more overview of your privacy on your mobile phone, which is, I guess, a good thing. Step in the right direction. But since we are an accessibility podcast, there's not much we can say at this point.
Yeah, and keep in mind that both of us are running Samsung devices, so Samsung will for sure add some of their features into their skin.
Definitely. Hopefully, if we want to take a look, maybe by the end of this year, maybe not.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I've seen the post that how it looks so far. On my phone and your phone will get 112, so that's good. However, when it will come, nobody knows. The earliest what to expect is at the end of the year. However, I'm more looking into like the first 3 months of 2022. So, yeah. But it's Android 12 is behind the corner, as they say.
Yes. There was a conference in Iceland held by a company called Siteimprove. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. Have you?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the Association of the Visually Impaired in Iceland is in collaboration with Siteimprove, where we are just helping each other out.
Well, they're your kind of neighbors, no? Yes, they're in Finland.
Yeah.
Denmark,
Yeah.
what?
Finland, Denmark. And they have Icelandic employees in Denmark who are focusing on the Icelandic market as well. So those are mainly those who we are cooperating with.
Yeah.
And of course, they are just in business, and we are in the business of making Icelandic websites more accessible. So kind of a win-win situation for us both. I held a small discussion on the conference, and my topic was called Accessibility is a Choice, which means, of course, in the digital world, accessibility is kind of a choice for companies and institutions. I was talking about what I was meaning behind that, and I would like you guys to discuss also, because what we have been seeing for the past few years is that a new app, a new website, a new anything comes out, and people have still not started looking at accessibility from the get-go and through the whole experience. It kind of feels like accessibility is still being looked at more like a destination when it should be looked like a journey, if you would. And also because they are having the European Commission survey, I think it would be interesting to discuss a bit. Have you guys noticed any changes, just if we just talk in general?
A bit of changes, but I think it depends on the country. Also, I think in the countries where there were some laws on accessibility before, it progresses more quickly. But in countries where you didn't have any laws, anything requiring the public sector to have the content accessible, I think content is quite inaccessible. And what I have noticed is that their first tries to make the content accessible are really basic, what we have seen 20 years ago, like increase contrast option on the website and switch to screen reader mode. But then you switch to screen reader mode and nothing really changes, because then the click here links that are like 20 times per page remain click here. It doesn't change for the screen reader. So it goes really in the wrong direction for I think for the countries where they're just starting with accessibility.
They are just like, as you said, they are just 20 years behind. They were 20 years behind when this thing came into place, and they still are.
Yes, but also what I noticed is that, for example, here in Luxembourg, when you report a problem first to the organization, then most probably they do not know what you're talking about, and then you report to the accessibility responsible person in the country.
It's a service.
Yes, well, it's a service. So then they really take it into account, and it's looked after. It will be improved in a shorter or longer period if it is about a public sector. At least this is my experience in Luxembourg, but I did not have this experience in Croatia. So I believe that also there are different experiences in different countries. But then when we go outside of the public sector, things get worse, because then we are still waiting for the European Accessibility Act to enter into force and to be obligatory for them too. Yep. Because now the Web Accessibility Directive is only for the public sector. But it is true, there are new websites, new mobile apps from the public sector that are launched and that are not accessible. And then when you report it, they're just surprised that you're reporting this issue. I think accessibility is not still considered as it should be, but probably it's a long process. I think they also need to include much more testing with users with disabilities, because sometimes they see that very often automated checkers are used only if, and that is already considered deep accessibility testing. And I don't think this is complete. It's of course a great tool, but it's not complete. So
it needs to go. You can't exclude the manual labor.
Well, for some people, that's something that they wish they never have to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. But this is a mindset.
We can agree on that one, I guess, but it's just not the case.
No.
Yes, this is a mindset that has to change. But I think by having the Web Accessibility Directive, by including people with disabilities, also it will increase the level of discrimination that was up until now also on the job market for persons with disabilities, because we expect and we hope that this will increase the possibility for persons with disabilities to get employed, to be involved, to test the content, to get trained how to test, to report well what are the issues, and so on and so forth. But I don't know, what are your impressions, guys?
I had the experience, for example, that what I have seen, actually started to see for the last year and a half, is that, for example, LinkedIn started to be a platform where you can get, if you're into accessibility field and you're the accessibility tester, you could get some interesting job offerings from different companies in Europe, which was not the case before. I have encountered a few so far, and have encountered also a few interviews so far for various job positions, which I didn't accept at the end. And one of the reasons why I didn't accept, besides the other conditions which you have for the particular job, is because of the fact that people who want to hire you as the accessibility consultant think that this is something which is a project which will last for a few months and then it will be finished. And this is something that's totally wrong. I think that we can all agree on the fact that the accessibility, if it needs to be taken into account seriously, is the ongoing process. So,
maintained.
Sorry?
It needs to be maintained.
Of course, it needs to be maintained.
And it's not a destination.
It's not a thing that somebody wants to hire you for a year. And
it's not a project.
No.
It cannot be a project for 1-2 years, and then
people will think that they will get all the knowledge necessary, so they will be able to continue on their own.
They will base the knowledge on your work, but the technology develops, so it's impossible. The standards are developed. Everything is going forward, so you cannot base accessibility on a project. I mean, your accessibility work on the project.
Sure. And
there are also other we have like you guys, you know Siteimprove, you know what it does. There are also companies and institutions here that do have Siteimprove. They have this tool that tells you what you're doing wrong and what you need to fix. But turns out there is still no one within that company accountable for fixing it. So they have the solution, they're paying for the solution, they're paying for everything. The only thing that they need to do is the manual labor of getting it done, and that's where the story ends.
Well, that's I don't know what to say. It's tragic, man.
Yeah, it's
really
such a shame.
Yeah,
like damn.
Because
it was not foreseen by the system that someone fixes accessibility issue, and this has to change.
Yeah.
Pavel, what's your take on this?
Yeah. So I've been in Austria for a very short time, but I can tell that at least there was a body created to control the quality and to collect all the reports of inaccessible public websites. And it's there, and they're doing their job, and they're also doing a lot of promotion. I have seen one spot they recorded for I think it was the Global Accessibility Awareness Day, or it was the International Day of Disabled People, where they actually have shown how a blind person works with a screen reader, so they are out there showing it. But I don't know much about the situation at large, like how good or bad it is in comparison to before the directive. I know, however, from Poland that a lot of people are talking about accessibility. There is a lot of accessibility presentations going on in different sectors. I heard about a case in education. And people are running scared. People don't know what to do with this. Like, they get this training, somebody comes, tells them that, well, there are these disabled people, they need things to be accessible. They maybe explain how it works, but the impression at the end is, we don't know who is supposed to do this. We probably cannot afford it. We don't know if anybody will actually use it at our particular place. And honestly, it would be good if somebody just came, did it, and we are safe. And the problem is that people don't get how it works. It's often they expect that you will come as an accessibility auditor and you will fix all their issues within a fortnight, because they need to be ready by 23rd of September or some other deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it's just like, another regulation they have to follow. Oh my God, stupid EU. And there will be this nice woman or man who will just come, you will pay them a bunch of money, and they'll get it sorted.
Yeah,
and there is
story.
And there is a huge mix-up also in the responsibilities and roles. Like, people don't get the difference between an accessibility auditor, accessibility tester.
Oh yeah.
Accessibility consultant and programmer and so much more. So they expect you to sort of do everything, even though you tell them, I'm just a blind person, so I can test ultimately with the best result for one use case. You need the help of an auditor who can, in turn, maybe hire me to test as a blind person, who has the methodology and the experience in organizing a whole audit story. So,
Oh yeah.
And this is a lot of money. It's not also like you will come to me and tell Pavel, could you please take a look at this and tell me if it's all right? And it would be good if you said if it's all right, because, well, the less we have to do, the better. And it's also quite crazy when you tell people how much your work is worth. It's like, I got some offers to do some kind of accessibility testing for institutions, and I consulted other people in the field in Poland to get some measurement, like how much it could be worth, what's your reality. And I got like different opinions. More or less, I have calculated how much I would like to be paid. And I told the institution in turn, this is my offer, do you take it or not? And there was no response anymore.
Unfortunately, I think the impression is that we are doing this like just in 5-10 minutes, and it's a favor, it's not work.
It's because we do it for ourselves. Like it should be us who should be fighting for this to happen, so we better do it for free, because after all, if we don't do it, then we don't have the outcome.
But it's sad because this is a mindset that has to change. I think also what would help to raise this issue is that everyone who encounters accessibility issues on public sector websites is to report this, because the feedback mechanism is there, and to report to the organizations telling what are the issues. And if they don't receive any feedback, they just think everything is fine. Nobody who has a disability is accessing our website. But this is not the truth. So at least as a citizen, I think you can do something on this level. And then slowly, I hope it will change also what we criticized just before.
I mean, speaking of the whole situation, I have to come back also to the fact that when some companies are searching for the accessibility specialists, the people in the HR department who are supposed to talk to you and basically recruit you as the candidate have no clue about what are they talking about. So you need to be very patient at the same time and explain, if the person on the other side wants to listen to you, what do you need to do? How do you have the things done? And then you might also encounter the positive or negative experience you can have. Or you can also get to the point where you end up on the interview and you find out that the company who wants to hire you wants to make some things accessible which might not be possible to do, such as working with very highly visual stuff and, making the statistics accessible, which is very tricky to do.
Maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
if you look back, what has been accomplished, I can at least say for here in Iceland, if we look back 10 years, for example, now we say that companies are searching for accessibility professionals and testers. Look back 10 years, no company was searching for anything in relation to accessibility. So the awareness stage is much higher.
It is, and it will grow. It will grow exponentially even more.
Yeah,
so this is something that we need to. I mean, we as a people, especially with people with disabilities, I think that we are the best candidates for doing these kind of jobs.
Of course.
Because we know eventually what needs to be changed, and people who have, for example, some site left can also work as the developers, because there are some stuff which blind developer cannot do visually, but somebody who is visually impaired can fix that. And at the same time, this is something that will become popular more and more. Absolutely.
And I absolutely feel like that now we're at this point that when companies and institutions are aware of accessibility, they're kind of aware of why it's important and why it needs to be there and all those things. But I feel like, okay, enough awareness. Let's start doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really do feel like we're at that stage now.
I have a similar feeling about, it's not related strictly to accessibility, but more to, let's say, social life, where people really admire you for doing your best as a blind person, and they say all the stuff that you're an inspiration and so on.
Yeah, you're totally hero.
Yeah. And I'm like, and they keep asking you about, how you live, how you do this, how you do that. And I'm fine doing this. But you see that there is not much coming out of it. Like, people pat you on your back and it's fine for 5 minutes, but then you're not really sure if it takes any effect with their learning, if they could do something better as a society. There is no reflection, self-reflection in it, other than, oh my God, we are much blinder than you are because we don't think about this and that thing in our life, but this is not really transferred anyhow to improving the situation for disabled people. Every time somebody tells me that I'm an inspiration, I'm actually tempted to ask, what did I inspire you to do? What was the thing that you decided to do different since the day you met me? So
why didn't you ask?
Not the thing that you did to inspire them, but what did you inspire them to do? I think that's a nice way to look at it.
It's a fresh thought, so I haven't had a chance that. It's fortunately not like I hear it every day, but I think next time it happens I will, because it's an interesting thought to play with.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I dare you. And I want to hear the response.
I think it's a philosophical question, and it also depends how much the person is open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I translated this message as that Pavel is not happy with enough attention from the chicks that he's getting.
That's a separate issue, but we're a technological podcast, so...
Well, we do have technology like Tinder and more, so technology is becoming more aware of
photos, even more photos. Give me voice samples any day.
Yeah.
Okay, so healthy and good discussion. I'm very happy with you guys. So we're going to wrap up this show with Pavel interviewing Gleb Zevkov, CEO of Voxmate.
Yeah, Voxmate, which isn't completely a strange product to us, to our listeners and to us in the team, because there is a person in the team who we already know working with the developers, and it's Jakob. Hello, Jakob. You still remember us, we hope. And Jakob has been working with Gleb and Katja and the Voxmate team over there in Estonia building the product. It's an Android-based, self-voiced app for accomplishing different tasks based on a system of menus with just 4 gestures. Flick down, next element, flick up, previous element, flick left, previous menu, flick right, expand menu. And you can make phone calls with it, you can send text messages, listen to music, radio, access services like Reddit, Telegram, but also, it turns out, you have a bunch of new capabilities such as multiplayer games and audio forums. So if you have that community vibe and you would like to meet some more blind people from all around the world, this is also the place to be. And they have really big plans for it, so you can listen to the interview. It reminds me a lot of Tweesecake. It's just in the mobile version. It can't be done, of course, in the mobile version with the keyboard shortcuts and invisible interfaces, but it's the closest thing to what we have. You will hear it also in the interview. It's a bit like the old IVR systems of the day, where you could just call a number and get all the information by pressing 1 or 2 or 5, and you would get into different menus and choose different information that you wanted to access. So let's give it up to Gleb and what his vision is all about.
EBU Access Cast interview.
So here we are back with an interview with Gleb Zevkov, the CEO. Are you the CEO of Voxmate, right? The new product on the market.
I prefer not to put labels on a 2-man outfit. We're just getting started, so I'm the founder. Let's put it that way.
Okay, but nevertheless, you the person who came up with the idea, more or less, I guess. What inspired you, and basically, how did you come to an idea that a product for blind people would be something you would like to endeavor on, would be your kind of adventure?
So it started with my co-founder, Katja. Her father started losing vision, first in one eye, and it was, an ordeal, and then suddenly in the other eye, and then it was a big life-changing event for us all. It was a very surreal experience for the family, and we were kind of dealing with it firsthand because they live in a different city, but he was undergoing his therapies here in Tallinn. And we kind of tried to figure out how we could help. And when he lost vision in both eyes, at the age of 58, I think, or 59, it was very difficult for him to adapt. He was already set in many of his routines, and we kind of tried to figure out ways we could help. Like, for example, we bought a bunch of cheap MP3 players and put an audiobook on each MP3 player, and so he could kind of switch around. And then we got him a big iPad and tried to learn voiceover ourselves and then teach him how to use voiceover. And it didn't go so well because even if you're kind of happy with voiceover, a lot of websites, and he was very set in his preference for news, for example, are not very accessible. You can kind of go with voiceover and all the banners pop up, and it kind of very hard to understand what's going on, even if you can see. But if you can't see and you're fingering around with exploratory gestures, it's much more harder. So what we did was we started figuring out maybe we can make a little bit of a little box for him. I bought a Arduino or Raspberry Pi device, and I put a numpad on it and kind of started playing with that idea, and we made audiobooks app for him on that. And then we thought, well, we looked around the internet for what existed, and we couldn't find anything that would be simple enough for him to use. So we thought, okay, well, let's do something. And that's how we started on Voxmate.
So what is Voxmate exactly?
Well, it's an app, and it's an app platform. So it installs as an app on Android from Google Play, and you can get it already today. And inside Voxmate, you use gestures to navigate around smaller apps. We used to call them Voxlets, but now we just call them Voxmate apps. And these Voxmate apps, we have a whole bunch of them. There's one for news, one for podcasts, one for audiobooks, one for radio, and so on. And they kind of create this cohesive atmosphere, a simple interface that's very easy to get started with. Most of our testers who are a little bit older get comfortable within an hour. And then they can use a whole bunch of services. But Voxmate started as an idea to make these simple services, but we've kind of grown up from that. We made this platform, and on top of this platform, we've built a YouTube application, we've built a Telegram application, we've built a Reddit application, and so on. And we're kind of creating more and more apps. We have like 20 apps today, and this is the path that we want to be on.
So how does the navigation go? What makes it so simple to use? And did it in the end help Katja's father, so your co-founder's father, in making this technology more accessible to him? And what was the idea behind the navigation there?
Well, there are kind of two basic ideas. First of all, let's minimize the number of things you can do with the phone screen. And right now it's just four gestures to get started, up, down, left, and right, and you can go around a lot of these applications, or use a lot of these applications. And the second idea was to have a good audio-first experience. But the way accessible applications have been made to date is we take a visual interface and we say, okay, so let's put descriptors here and there, and we kind of structure it from then on. That's how we get exploratory interfaces and so on. Or we'd go full voice, like with Google Assistant or other ones that shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
But what we wanted to do, we wanted to go gesture mode so that it's very expressive and there's no way to misunderstand the gestures. You swipe up, down, left, right, very easy. And we wanted the audio experience to be very clean, so that there's no extra stuff. You don't have to explain every little thing, and you don't have to say that this is a button. It's a node or a tile, we call them, in an interface, and it kind of it's much more self-explanatory because we're trying to focus on the audio-first experience.
Mm-hmm. So there is this menu context, and you just navigate as in as if a TV, let's say an old TV or old phone menu style, getting in and out of menus, choosing the right option, and getting wherever you want, right?
We got our inspiration from, dialer systems. Nobody likes those. But, when you dial your bank or something, press 1 to do this, press 2 to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody likes those. They're really inhuman. But it actually works out quite well if you have a real-time system that quickly responds to your input. We also have voice input for search and so on. And you can input with keyboard. But to get started, you just need the 4 gestures. You can get around the menu. You swipe up and down to go around the options, and you activate the option by swiping right, and then you deactivate. You go back by swiping left. So it kind of is one of those. That's where we got the inspiration from. Those old telephone menu systems.
I also find them quite interesting. This is a system that I used to explore, of course, as I was a child. Let's say. Internet wasn't so popular and accessibility, well, forget it. But the IVR systems were around, and I can still remember calling up a local cinema. They had a fully automated IVR system where you could get to know the whole schedule, which movie is running when. And I was so excited because it was my first source of independently obtaining some information. So I was basically torturing my whole family, telling them all about the latest movies that I heard about from that IVR. And I like, whenever I do accessibility demonstrations for sighted people, or even for students in a class when I was still at the university, I always did a funny exercise in which I asked the group at large if you could imagine that screens were never invented and we never moved beyond IVR systems and basically telephone lines. If it was our ultimate technology today, how would you imagine the services of today and the challenges of internet of today in a telephone accessible form? How do you imagine social media as an audio experience? How do you imagine viruses? How do you imagine spam? And the results are usually interesting. People sometimes have no idea if they could assign, I don't know, a nasty sound to a computer virus playing over the phone. Or basically they're favoring shopping website where they cannot see a single photo of the shoes they want to buy, but they can just hear things. So this is an interesting approach. I guess there is always this fight, and you probably got to know this when you started testing with a larger amount of people, that there are proponents of the universal accessibility, so that we should use the mainstream apps as everyone does and promote and advocate for more accessibility and more inclusion in the interfaces, or the custom-made clients based on some external API, where the blind people are the target group, and so the interface is built from scratch. It's just thought of at the conception stage. Is this somehow the direction you are going, like the more into the custom apps area, or are you also looking at some mainstream universal accessibility as a worthwhile cause, or more like a good way to progress and the goal to be in the future? Screen readers and mainstream apps in tandem.
I think this is a great discussion to have, and I heard this. I've had this discussion a couple of times with people, and I think that we need to be doing both, and it's not either or kind of scenario. The way I think about Voxmate is that Voxmate can be a tool for forcibly accessibilizing existing services, and that's how I kind of internalize it. There's websites and there's services that they just don't have the resource to make an accessible layer, let's put it that way, on top of, or they iterate the UI so much, maybe they're a startup, maybe they're a small outfit, and they don't have the resources. But let's say if we want to use that product, why not have a means to be able to accessibilize it, on behalf of the original app's creator? So, and I think in many cases this is a little bit of a moot point. For example, let's say we take Telegram as an example. They make a client. They make several clients actually, and they make a very nice SDK that you can plug into, and you can create your own client quite easily. So why wouldn't we want to create a client that is much more audio friendly as opposed to a client that is much more visual, or maybe a clutter-free client or something like that? I think that a lot of these services downstream boil down to, there's a set of data, set of APIs that we can kind of open up, and there could exist many clients, many different types of interfaces to that service. For example, a couple of years ago, Netflix started to kind of changing their UI a little bit and making it simpler to find new content, or so they thought. But I like long lists of things where I can filter, and I could see myself using a client on top of Netflix that is much more friendlier to, a person who, has a data-centric view of the world. And then there could be a Netflix client that is much more suitable for a person who doesn't know what they want to watch. And in a similar way, there could be a client, on top of Reddit that is very nice for that use, or very nice for audible use. So I think, and what we want to make with Voxmate is what we want to create these SDKs so that it's very easy to write these clients on top. So we've made 20 applications. It's because it's quite easy to make applications on top of Voxmate. And it's quite easy to accessibilize a service that, might provide an API or might provide something that you can use externally. So I don't necessarily see this as a big fight between two camps or two ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And another way of thinking about it is also, Katya's father could probably, even if you say that it's quite accessible, to use certain app using VoiceOver, and I might agree with you, but he wouldn't agree because it's too difficult for him. It's as if it wasn't accessible at all. Learning something is also part of accessibility journey. And when that learning is too difficult, then you can almost say that it's inaccessible. And so Voxmate can be also thought of as a stepping stone. If you're just lost vision, Voxmate might be a good fit for you. But as you progress in your journey and as you learn how to use TalkBack, how to use VoiceOver, then it becomes much, you might say, well, then I'll start using these apps as well.
Speaking of that, actually, you probably had this argument many times testing with the community, but a lot of people who are very self-sufficient with technology will tell you that we don't need another self-voiced interface while we already have screen readers. And you have already addressed this a little bit. You told us what at least a part of your target group might be. You had your first user case that basically has shown that a solution like Voxmate is needed out there. But is that your only target group? And if not, how do you plan, or how are you approaching and convincing the skeptics?
I think the skeptics need to give it a try. If you're super comfortable with VoiceOver, try our version of Telegram client, for example. It's still better to have a dedicated audio interface that is tailor-made, to be used as an audio interface. That's just been our experience so far, that people are, when they try the app, a lot of them go, okay, I see the point. There's value in this even for me, even as an advanced user, I can find value in using particular client, for example. But what we want to see is Voxmate as two things. First, as a stepping stone between, no apps, no phone, no nothing, and TalkBack or VoiceOver. So, even the skeptics have to agree that the learning curve is difficult for some people. So even before you get to that level of proficiency with TalkBack, you might enjoy services that are simpler to use. And then, on the other hand, what we want to do, and this is in our pipeline for the next year of development, we want to make a very development-friendly environment so that you can create your own self-voicing applications that are tailor-made either to your small-scale needs. Like, for example, we had a person who wanted to automate their air conditioner, and all they need is a simple app that would turn it on and off. Or you could have, a community that's passionate about some service and they would forcibly accessibilize it, even if it's not accessible today. So I would say to the skeptics that I think there's room for both approaches, and audio first could be a great experience, even if you're really comfortable with voiceover or talkback.
Okay. There is also a great post I have seen on one of the community forums regarding Voxmate, where a person suggested that it would maybe make sense to, apart, of course, from offering these clients and the interfaces, audio first interfaces that you do offer, to also include a sort of gateway, a bridge, playing field, if you may say so, for learning how to use actual screen readers. Is it some direction that you would find sensible for the future of Voxmate?
I think it's a good idea. We're right now just getting started with what we want to build, and it is a huge undertaking for us. We want to be part of the larger vision, yes. But it might take different forms. We might want to take Voxmate to be a sort of assistive tool, like Voxmate would be a screen reader. This is a path that we are investigating, for example. And we have cool ideas how to do that in a new, different, simpler way. Or we want to be able to integrate with TalkBack and VoiceOver better. So right now, Voxmate is only on Google Play, by the way, but we're investigating how to make an iOS version. That's also in the pipeline for us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Voxmate can be a way. From my point of view, it's a stepping stone for many people that are just dealing with accessibility issues today, and going forward, maybe there could be an experience through Voxmate that would be a teaching experience. Today, Voxmate already supports TalkBack as compatibility mode. That means that you can have TalkBack enabled and use Voxmate at the same time. All you need to do is add another finger, and you can swipe up and down, with 2 fingers, and swipe left and right with 2 fingers, and then Voxmate would work as expected. And so you could much easier use it as a little extra application if you only need it, for example, for Telegram or for Reddit or for something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great compromise. Do you also have, apart, of course, from this clients for external services, some of your in-house technology? You have some social networking features as well, and some multiplayer games that you released in the first release, the public one that is out there. Could you say something a little bit more about this? What's your approach? What's your goal with this? And how do you find this being useful for your target audience?
So we look at Voxmate first of all as an entertainment platform, and then we wanted to show that we can do a lot of things on this platform. You could read the news, sure, that's kind of easy to understand, but you could also play quite complicated multiplayer games. And we've started making these multiplayer games on our own. We have 4 Colors right now as our example game that you can go and play today. And the idea here is that we can bring people, together. People are bored; they can find someone online to play with. We also made our own audio forum. Here we're playing with the idea that maybe transcribing, a speech to text and then text to speech is not always optimal. So maybe we can record the audio and people can just talk. It's similar idea to how Clubhouse works, but in an offline fashion. So you kind of post audio messages and people reply to you with audio messages. We thought that, the audio forum is just getting started, of course. So we'll see where it goes. Right now, it's more of a support forum for Voxmate. We can, if you have any issues or if you want to know something, how to do something, that's a great way to get an answer. But going forward, I mean, in the future, what we kind of want to create a community feeling. One of the biggest challenges that Katya's father had to face is adapting to his new reality. And try as we might to kind of cheer him on, the best thing that worked in his situation was actually talking to the blind union, people from the blind union. And we want to have that kind of experience built into Voxmate. So if people need to reach out, there's a way to do that also. And we want to play with concepts that only make sense in a blind world. As you say, if we reimagine the world that there is no interface, no visual interface, how would that world be? And so we come up with these ideas like Audio Forum, and because Voxmate is a platform, it's fairly easy for us to experiment with it. So we create a backend for it, we create an audio app for it, and we see how people like it and what people think about it. Right now, there's a lot of ideas on the forum, like how could we improve it? People want to add personal messaging, people want to add this and this. And we have to kind of wait and see how the forum develops on its own, what people want and what we can improve downstream.
Sounds great. What's your pricing at the moment, and what's your sustainability model?
We're very aware of abandonware in accessibility, especially in VI. A lot of people create apps and then they kind of fail to find a suitable way to finance the app, so they kind of float around. We wanted to that's why we created a platform so that we could, bundle up all the apps in one space. So it kind of makes sense to pay for the apps. And implicitly, it also gives us, financial support to continue improving the applications, continue supporting the applications. Right now, we're offering 75% off early access offer. We're just fresh off the presses into Google Play, and currently we just want to get as many users on board as possible to kind of see what works and what doesn't work. So we're offering a 75% off, and you can get a Voxmate subscription as low as €3.50, I think. The actual price may vary just a bit between jurisdictions, but that's our rough target. We want to raise some funding and develop Voxmate further for maybe another year or so before we are sure that this product is kind of ready for, maybe to remove the early access moniker. But this is where we're starting out.
Mm-hmm. And what is the plan about the pricing for the future? Is it still to be decided, or have you got any fixed numbers?
We think that we're going to target around €10 per month when we feel comfortable to do so. Mm-hmm. And this we probably will start ramping the price up a little bit over time so that it doesn't come as a shock. Right now we're running this 75% off so that we get as many people as possible on board, and it's been quite a nice reception so far, and we hope to continue and grow the user base. We think that we can give a lot of value for the monthly subscription, and think of it that way. Also, that if there's a large enough user base supporting us with subscription, then it makes sense for us to hire developers, continue development, improving the applications, cleaning things up, and so on. One of the strengths of Voxmate is our ability to push application updates. So every time you visit an app, if it has been updated and you're connected to the internet, you'll get a new version. So it's very easy for us to kind of iterate over something, update something, and so on. But we need, of course, finances to do so. And this is what we're kind of trying to figure out how the model will work. We're running this 75% off deal for maybe a couple of months, and then we'll see what we'll do.
Do you think this pricing may change or vary depending on what solutions you would like to build around which APIs? Because you mentioned Telegram, but Telegram is one of the very few exceptions in popular modern services where you actually can so freely develop an alternative interface. Otherwise, there is either no API, and any attempt to create anything unofficial meets an outright ban from the company, or you have to pay for API access, which sometimes they are not very low bills, mind you. So how do you plan to approach this if you want to expand with more services?
We'll have to see how we do that. We know that some people figure out ways, and because we're in accessibility space, we're constantly talking to companies, and they have kind of understanding in terms of trying to help us along. But it is a huge difficulty, as you say. Everybody wants to keep things in-house. That's why we don't have Facebook at the moment on the platform, because they kind of keep us out. We have ideas how to get around things, and we have ideas how to negotiate. So it's just a matter of time before we can get better and better services on the platform.
You mentioned this a little bit already, but what next? What are your plans for the nearest future? What would you like to achieve? Maybe you can also drop a very tiny secret about some upcoming features or anything that you are working on at the moment.
So the next feature, that secret feature that we're going to be dropping, has to do with coronavirus, and we already have an app for that in Voxmate, so you can kind of check out how your country is doing. But going to be adding a sort of a QR code manager, and a lot of countries, especially in Europe, are doing these kind of mandatory QR code. So you have to bring it with you, and we'll be doing that. And that's just going to be a small update we'll be releasing soon. We're constantly making small updates to the apps and constantly making changes. But one of the big things that we're working on is the SDK. So we want to bring on board developers, and it might be that you want to create a whole game, an audio first game. There's actually quite a bit of a buzz in the community about this at the moment. Or maybe you'll want to create a garage opener for your aunt, and we want to kind of bring these solutions into the fold as well. And one of the bigger things that we're trying to figure out how to do next is how to get iOS on board, because Android is a platform that allows you to do certain things, and iOS is a more restrictive space, but we hope to bring some functionality to iOS also.
I don't know how much you know the competition in this field, but perhaps you have already come across solutions like the Blind Shell, which is a dedicated, also with blind people in mind, a keyboard-based smartphone. I think we can call it smartphone because deep inside it's Android, and although it doesn't have a proper Play Store, there are interfaces created for it that target keyboard use. And basically what now they came out with is they try to receive feedback from the users, which of the openly available apps from the Play Store, for instance, the community would like to use the most. And then what they'll try and do is adapt these apps to work with the Blind Shell. I suppose what happens inside is basically there is a tiny screen reader running, which is told by means of scripting, of course, which elements it should focus in which order, which nodes of the proper app it should focus in which order when you navigate with the arrow keys up, down, left, right, enter. And it's a sort of hacky way to get at mainstream apps using proprietary keyboard, although the support wasn't added in the first place. And in this way, for example, I believe, I'm not sure about this, but this is, I guess, how it works. That's how they gotten WhatsApp on board, for instance. Do you think some kind of hardware way could be also in store for Voxmate, a dedicated Voxmate device also that maybe would be keyboard-based, maybe since you already played around with Raspberry Pi, something around that territory?
So we're talking about putting Voxmate on a watch. That's something that we're interested in doing, and we're also thinking about making our own. We call it the Voxmate Ring, and the ring would be just connected with Bluetooth to your phone, and you would be able to use Voxmate, the up, down, left, and right kind of deal with just directly from the ring. And all you need is a pair of wireless headphones, and you can have your phone in your pocket. So yeah, we're thinking about stuff like that. And regarding competition, I think it's really cool that there's companies around there. I think what we are going to be best at is providing a developer experience that will ultimately beat the competition, because that's what we're focusing on internally. We kind of create these really easy ways for us to create and maintain Voxmate software, and this is our big differentiator. Of course, it's not it's not public facing, so it might not come into play just yet. Another thing to note is, of course, Voxmate already supports keyboard for easy input in some situations. So you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard as well. And I think this approach of this is what I call forcibly accessibilizing. If a blind shell is using a hidden screen reader and it's programmed to press buttons in a certain order, I applaud that effort. I think it's a good way of doing things until there's a better way. And I think we should kind of create a nice sense of how these hacks, as you say, can be made better and maintained better. And that's what we're focusing on with Voxmate.
Thank you so much. Thank you for introducing our listeners to Voxmate. I hope
Yes.
you will have a lot of publicity by this, and I wish you a lot of luck with your development.
Thank you for having me. It was a big pleasure.
Gleb Sevkov, part of the Voxmate team. Voxmate self-voiced audio-first interface for many interfaces on Android. Where can our listeners find it?
You can find it today on Google Play. Just type in Voxmate, or you can go to our webpage, voxmate.com, and find everything from there.
Thank you so much, Gleb. Thank you for sharing this with our listeners. And we hope to see some nice updates from you in the near future.
All right. Thank you, Pavel.
So that's our show. Thank you very much for listening to us once again, and hoping to see you back in around 6 weeks. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tanya, Mario, and Pavel, for being here with me. And take care, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to EBU Access Cast. If you want to contact